Hello, and welcome back to Amplify Your Business to Amplify Your Life, where we dig deep to unearth the golden nuggets of business wisdom, fueling not just your entrepreneurial journey, but also your life and passion and fulfillment. I'm your host, Odette de Beer, international business strategist, speaker, and advocate for excellence in everything and every area of your life. Today, I have once again the immense pleasure of welcoming back a powerhouse in all things brand and marketing, and the mastermind behind JDC exec, Janine de Cabo. Welcome back, Janine.
Thank you, Odette. I'm excited for today's podcast, and I think we're going to be able to. That's what I love about the podcast, is we learn just as much as everybody else.
Absolutely. So for those of you who have been listening, our first part of this podcast was about how the going gets tough and the tough gets going. The second part is all about practical strategies that will help you flourish in tough times and come out on top, not just battered and bruised, but a proper diamond that's been formed through the pressure. So, Janine, in our previous podcast, we spoke a little bit about the challenges that we face in life and in business, and how those challenges tend to get people to either fail or flourish. What do you think enables people to flourish in tough times?
If I can quickly say some of the things that stood out of the last session is the fact that we have vision, because vision gives us the ability to create a future in our mind. And then from there, like you said, we need to take action, write it down, and then start with proper planning, because progress along with your proper planning will lead to positive results. And then what can help you from failure to flourish is also to regroup when you're in a situation, reframe that situation, and then relax. And I always also want to say, we can refocus, but sometimes also we just need to relax a bit, because we sometimes are so anxious about the situation that we're not even able to make proper decisions. So that's also something we will speak about today. What do we do on our not coping days?
Yeah, that's a brilliant question. What do you do?
Well, for me, a lot of the things is the very first thing, if I can say it like that, I don't make lifetime decisions based on temporary feelings, because that's what we tend to do when we're in that rut. And that's why I say relax just a little bit, so that you can get your frame of mind back. And that's why the reframing is so important. I heard a stat many years ago, and I'm sure, well, I know it's still exactly the same today, but when you're angry, you literally only using 40% of your brain. It's the same when you're upset. So if we don't reframe and we relax and refocus, then we are going to make lifetime decisions based on our temporary feelings, and that will probably lead to an even bigger problem. So that would be one of my first things. You have to determine what you can control, and you only work with what you have, right? So it doesn't help to linger on, and you said it also, it doesn't help to linger on the things that is out of our control. But if you can just work on the things that you do have control over, you still have something to work with. It's important to identify your fears, because you need to figure out, why am I feeling this? And then once you figure that out, you can replace that with positive feelings, positive strategy, and a way forward. And I think for me also, it is important to differentiate between soul-destroying thoughts and problem-solving thoughts. Because sometimes we get into that rut, and you're making a bigger mess of things just by doing that, instead of just working on the more positive thoughts. So you have to differentiate between those soul-destroying thoughts and the problem-solving thoughts. And then I would definitely say you have to create a plan to manage your stress, your tension, and those overwhelming feelings, because you're going to have those feelings. That feeling of overwhelm is very real, and it leads to anxiousness. And if we can manage that, then it would be so much easier for us. And rest is very important, Odette.
Yes.
When you get to that place where you're totally overwhelmed, you have to go and rest. You have to break away. I often say, have at least 5 things in your back pocket that you can go and do right now when you're tired. You know, going to the shop, going to have a coffee, sitting outside, going to the gym, whatever you can do right now to break out of that place where you currently find yourself. So rest is important. And then I would say set easy, small, easy to reach tasks for today, just for today.
Yes. I love what you just said. One of the important things that you've mentioned that I think is a skill which is very underrated is self-awareness. Everything you've just mentioned comes down to being self-aware, understanding yourself before you do anything. Because the minute you take some time to stop and just go, what is really going on here? Yes, we need to be present in the moment, but we don't have to react in the moment. We need to respond to the moment. And that comes from self-awareness. So self-awareness is definitely one of the big keys. One of the other things you've mentioned is rest, which for me is stopping. Just take a breath. One of the things my clients generally hear me say is, let's stop and breathe. And then they laugh at me, and then we breathe. And once they've actually intentionally taken deep breaths and had some focused breathing, suddenly things change. And it's exactly what you said. 40% of your brain is what you use when you're angry. The reason we do that is because we're not properly oxygenated. So you have to put oxygen in your body so that you can think properly. And also that breathing exercise helps to regulate your emotions. One of my favorite practical tips when things go wonky is motion manages emotion. Whether you've been hit by absolutely terrible news or you are stressed and you're struggling with a situation, you have to go and move. Get up, go for a walk, get out in sunlight. Vitamin D creates endorphins in your brain, so get in the sun. If you've got a rebounder at home, go jump for a minute. You will be amazed how much just a minute's worth of jumping on a rebounder can change your mood and change your perspective. And then one of the important things that we often talk about on this podcast is your social network or your support network. Sometimes we need to talk to somebody. It's important to have a trusted friend or an advisor that you can reach out to say, hey, I'm not coping. I need help. And that is probably one of the hardest things to do because it's an acknowledgement that I don't have all the answers. And guess what? Nobody expected you to have all the answers. You mentioned goal setting and you mentioned taking action. What are some of the practical things that you would suggest or that you would say people need to do in the tough times other than having a stress management plan? Because stress management plans are a little bit ethereal. It's like it's this fuzzy thing. What are the things we can tell people to do that will help them?
Yeah. So I would say first off is get back on the goal. Talking about goals is get back on the goal, your original purpose that you were doing this. And goal for me stands for God ordained actions for life. So get back to the original purpose of why and what for, or your why that you are doing what you are doing. And easy things that you can do is to improve yourself, right? I live in South Africa. Therefore, I can tell you that a leopard does change its spots if it really wants to, right? So you can improve yourself. You can change. And you can be better and you can live a better life. So improve yourself, educate yourself, become the best within your industry, become the best within your sphere, right? You can do that and change for the better. Change happens from the inside out. So start here, start with yourself, that is going to help you, and then build some substance, And we are going through tough times. Make sure that you learn the lesson and that you write it down somewhere because you need to go back to be able to get it.
Yes, absolutely. I think you just raised a very important point, which applies to two specific things. Write it down. 3 specific things. Write down your vision and your goal. Write down what you have learned and write down what you are grateful for. So one of the things that I often do in the morning when I do my journaling, one of the first things I journal about is what I'm grateful for. And it doesn't have to be I'm grateful for being alive. or I'm grateful for the roof over my head. It can be something like, I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful, as you mentioned, reframing the problem. I'm grateful for this business that's giving me headaches. Because the flip side of not having the business could either be you don't have an income, or you work in a job that you absolutely hate. So there's reframing. I'm grateful for this problem or this challenge because I get to learn something new. I get to expand my capacity, and I get to create a pathway for someone. I read something about the things that you're facing now will become someone's how-to guide. And that's an opportunity to impact the world far beyond just you. And that's something to be grateful for. And also something we've spoken about in a previous chat is what you put in your body. You mentioned that you have smoothies and that you pay attention to what it is you make decisions about what's for dinner, what's for lunch, what's for breakfast. One of the important things is the gut-brain connection. So there's been lots of research done on if your gut's not in a good space, your brain probably won't be in a good space, which means your emotions aren't in a good space, because all those things work together. So the moment things start going a little bit wonky, it might just be necessary for you to pay attention to what you've been consuming. Drink lots of water because your body flourishes on that. And we are energy beings. So when you've got water, you've got able to create the energy. If you're all dehydrated, it's not possible. If you're putting junk in your body, your energy consumption and your energy production will be limited. So pay attention to what you eat. Now, I'm not a nutritionist, and obviously I also have cheat days, but it is important to just think about it, right? I'm not suggesting that you only eat fruits and vegetables, because I like biltong, but it is important to think, well, is this chocolate the right thing to do right now? Maybe I should have an apple instead and go for a walk. Having the apple nourishes your gut, and going for a walk is going to manage your emotions. Something else you mentioned is overthinking. I think we often get into that vortex where we overthink things, and that's really not a great space to be. So write down whatever it is that you're thinking. And sometimes all you need to do is just write it down and walk away from it and chuck it in the bin. And that's enough. So it comes down to understanding yourself as an individual, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And to know the difference when it is an actual emotional thing, or like you say, gut, head, brain, where does it come in? What am I dealing with right now? Or was it an event? Am I feeling like this because something happened? Am I feeling like that? Like I always say, like, look, I love McDonald's, but it only makes me feel good for the moment.
Yes.
It doesn't carry me through. So we spoke about substance as well. Is substance, if I say build some substance and put some substance on the inside of you, right? What is the stuff that's going to last? What is the things that's going to sustain you? And that comes into your self-care and your sustainability for the future.
Yes. I like to say, especially on the days that are rough, to make decisions that the future you will thank you for. Because quite often we wake up and we just don't feel it, right? But we don't live our lives by our feelings. We live our lives by our decisions. And sometimes we need to make the decision to do the thing that's hard, but that your future self will thank you for, whether it's eating an apple or making that phone call or doing that thing. Just do something that your future self will thank you for. And I guarantee you, if it doesn't work, you can phone me. We can have a conversation about that. But I guarantee you, if you do that every single time you have a tough time, you are going to find that you will grow in leaps and bounds, because it's in those tough moments where you have an opportunity to sit and mope, that when you choose to take action and do what your future self will thank you for, that you make strides in your life and not just small incremental changes.
And it's not an emotional decision.
Yes, 100%, because you're going against the emotion. So Janine, what is your number one takeaway from today's conversation?
I would say let's look at a couple of tips for tough days, because that's what we're talking about. If you have that visionary mindset and you can imagine your future, it would be much easier for you to get there. It's important to plan for success. So progress through planning, bounce back quickly, regroup, reframe, like you said, relax, refocus, learn and grow. You can change your spot. So build skills, and because skills builds confidence at the end of the day. Discover some new paths, like try new things, innovate in the adversity that you are going through, because once you've got that solution, you're going places, right? So make use your problem in order to get through that, or use your problem to get through the pain so that you can get to a better place. And inspiration sparks ideas. So make sure that you're surrounded by the right people, that you can be inspired all the time, because when you get into that slump, that's going to help you to spark inspiration, spark new ideas, and you can move through the problem faster. And then I would say, I know people don't like it when we say these things, but thrive from your pain so that you can choose, am I going to be paralyzed with this, or am I going to be propelled by what is happening?
Absolutely. We all have a choice at the end of the day. And the difference between the person that succeeds and the person who fails is the decision to continue. That's all it is.
Yeah.
We choose our pain. You can choose the pain of growth, or you can choose the pain of stagnation. So remember, building a mental resilience in your business or in your life is a journey. It's not a destination. It's a little bit like playing Mario Brothers. Every time you succeed on one level, there is another level with another dude that's trying to take you out. So it takes continuous practice, reflection, and self-awareness. Those things came up so many times in the past 2 conversations, it's not even funny. So by integrating these techniques into your daily life, you will cultivate a mindset that is capable from bouncing back from adversity and thriving in challenges. We hope you enjoyed today's talk. We'll see you real soon.